Most of the assholes are banned.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Won't you listen to reason? Will you open your eyes? It's a wonder what you'll find with an open mind. You may be surprised. Yeah, gotta get away from this illusion for the sake of the world. This delusion is gotta go. Yeah.
I'm getting a hold of Brian and tell him he needs one less at the end.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's live, April 25th, 2010. I'm Matt Dillahunty. This is Jen Peeples. We're here on the Atheist Experience Live. That was the new intro that only took us a month to finally get up on one of the shows.
Well, actually, they've had it for longer. It's just that Joe gave me the copy of it on CD, and
Yeah.
I forgot to bring it in the last two shows.
Well, we had it last
Anyway.
week, but the copy that we had didn't actually work. Anyway,
Yeah.
I'm gonna skip through this because the show is late, 3 hours, because of other things going on in the studio, and it's a short show. We've only got an hour. So I didn't bring pen, I didn't bring paper. I'm not going to have my normal announcements. I'm just going to get a few things out of the way real quick. This is the Atheist Experience. It's a live public access television show sponsored by the Atheist Community of Austin. For more information about the ACA, you can visit the website www.atheist-community.org. The website for this particular TV show is www.atheist-experience.com, and there you can find frequently asked questions and information on how to use clips, as well as an archive of the show for the past 12 years or so. It's a live call-in show, so we'll have the telephone number up almost immediately. And you're welcome to call in. Anybody who doesn't get through on the telephone or doesn't want to can email tv@atheist-community.org. In addition to this program, the ACA also sponsors a bi-weekly internet audio podcast called The Nonprofits. You can go to nonprofitsradio.com for more information. We're currently on hiatus while we try to find a better schedule that allows us to stop canceling so many shows. But the show's not dead. It'll be back. We just need to get everybody's schedules coordinated, which is often difficult. So thanks to all of you for tuning in live. There's additional announcements. Most of them are up at the website. One thing I definitely do not want to forget, May 16th, live at the state capitol is a rally that everybody and their brother and their brother's students should attend as Texas citizens and guests from out of town possibly get together to give the State Board of Education what for. We are a little bit sick and tired of their revisionist tactics and the changes that they are making on behalf of extreme right-wing ideologues. And so that'll happen Sunday, May 16th, beginning at 11?
11 o'clock,
11
yes.
o'clock at the Capitol here in Austin. In addition to this, there won't be a dinner tonight after the show like we would normally do, but there will be Atheist Happy Hour every Thursday at the Dog and Duck at 17th and Guadalupe. There's more information at the website. I don't want to waste any more time on announcements. I don't know if you had anything you wanted to get to before.
Boobquake is tomorrow.
Boobquake.
Yeah. So,
You might want to tell them what boobquake is.
yeah,
We don't need to put that up. We're not going.
Yeah, if you guys have been living in a cave and you don't know what boobquake is yet, Jen over at Blaghag put this out as a joke in response to an Iranian cleric who said that immodest dress by women was the cause of earthquakes. And all this time we thought it was plate tectonics. But no, apparently these are deadly weapons.
Only when you're jogging without a sports bra.
Yeah.
You might cause an
So,
earthquake.
anyway, tomorrow you're encouraged to wear your most immodest dress, whatever you're comfortable with. But, you know, Janet Blaghag is going to show a little cleavage. So if you got it, show it. You know, doesn't have to be this cleavage, but cleavage I think works too. On the other hand, if you don't want to do any of that stuff, I think just wearing shorts is enough to offend the Iranian clerics. So
Pretty sure not wearing a burqa is enough to offend those guys.
And for those feminists who are so outraged that we're promoting the equivalent of a Girls Gone Wild video out there are a few of them out there, feel free to just put your burqa back on, okay, sweetheart? We're not talking to you. So.
All right. I don't actually know if this thing's up to date, but we can go ahead and start taking callers. I'm sure there's other things that I'd forgotten. I want to thank CFI in Calgary for having me on a video Skype conference call on Thursday, despite the fact that I represented myself as a stupid American who thought I was in Toronto instead of Calgary. So thanks a lot for that. I had a great time. And they're looking to do more of that as well. So we'll go ahead and jump into callers. Is it Pinky?
Yes.
Hey, how are you?
Hi, Matt. Hi, Jen.
Hi, how are you?
I was the last person to call in on the last show, so I wanted to talk about a couple of things. Some weeks back, we did a nice presentation on the hymns of the Bible, old hymns, and the effect that it has psychologically on people, and just that the hymns, what they do, what they represent to people. But I was thinking of some of the modern songs that Christians sing, and sometimes it's pop lyrics, like "You are everything, everything is you," and turn it into songs for Jesus. But the effect that it has on people, it kind of creates this relationship with an imaginary God, imaginary friend in the sky. But there's this feeling that's so real, and their whole life is caught up in it. I remember some of the songs like "Yes, Lord," "I Surrender All," "He's My Goodness," "I'm Sweet." There was one that was really, I loved this song, and I remember singing this song all the time. And now I think, oh my God, this is really sick. The deer panted for the water, so my soul longs for thee. It's right out of the Psalms,
Yeah.
And,
By the way, there's something weird going on. Are you on a cell phone?
Yes.
Okay,
Can
well, I can hear you. There's some kind of weird noise, and typically we find it happens with cell phones. So if you would, and especially since we got a shorter show, if you can go ahead and get to kind of summarize or ask a question, and we'll go ahead and take it offline.
Okay. Well, it's just that I was thinking of, how when we are talking to people, how to get around it, that they feel that they are losing their life, it's because Jesus is their life, God is their life. And, there was one by David Peeples, which is sung a lot, "He is my reason to live." And, when people are walking around with this idea, and when we're talking to them and helping them to question this, it's not simply that the doubt is an issue, it's that they're losing their whole life. They tend to feel like, if I don't have this, how am I going to live? He's my reason to live.
Yeah, we've had people actually call into the show before to express that very thing. If there was no God, why would I get up in the morning? And I've ranted against that on a number of occasions. I know that there are people who feel that way. I don't know what else we can do about it other than to keep, challenging people and educating people. This idea that, Christianity in particular, in some varieties, encourage this idea that you are useless and worthless, and that your only point is to, serve and worship, etc. So if you actually buy into that wholeheartedly, when you get around to figuring out that there's no good reason to think that it's true and plenty of reasons to think that it's false, that can be worldview shattering. About the only thing that I can really say is that it's very sad. There's no magic solution to this. There's no simple thing other than to get people to kind of raise their consciousness so that they have a better understanding of the value of life. That their life is just as valuable today as it was the day before. It's like it's people who've been falsely diagnosed with a terminal illness. And then they find out that they don't have this terminal illness. You would think that would be something that would make people go, hooray, I get to keep living. But it is still in some cases they probably do. In other cases there may be depression and a sense of loss. That, the direction that they had taken their life was based on something that wasn't true, and that, they'd made false assumptions, etc. So yeah, I don't have any easy answers to that other than, it happens, and all we can do is keep working to educate people. And as I said before, the people who do good things in the name of their religion, for example, the people who go out and feed the homeless, I think those people are probably still going to do that, even if they give up their religion, because it's who they are, and it has nothing to do with the truth of whether there's some magical being out there.
Right. And, I mean, I just knew a lot of people who I became saved with, and those people, when it came to the point where they were giving up their faith, a lot of them did commit suicide. Some of them did get back into drugs. Some of them, went back into their old lives. At least, because that was all they had to fall back on. There was no sense of moving forward from here or taking what we've learned and getting ahead. And I know that, despite how normal I think I am, I went through something, a really dark night of the soul. The minute I realized that there was no God, I didn't have this atheist, a whole fellowship and understanding to fall back on. So for those few days, those weeks, whatever that time period was, I felt like my life was over. I didn't know where to go from here. And it took a lot of strength to try and build myself and, think, no, there is a tomorrow. What will I do with my life without Jesus? Anything I want,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
It takes that sort of strength to do that, and a lot of times you find a lot of discouragement with people in the church, and then you also have rejection from the church, maybe your family members, and so I don't know, but a lot of these songs are at the heart of it, and I don't know, maybe there's some.
Yeah, I think that the songs are particularly. I'm glad Tracy brought it up. Others have brought it up as well. I'm glad people are starting to recognize that and harp on that, because I remember everything I ever learned from Schoolhouse Rock.
Wow.
Music has a way of insidiously sticking in your brain and never going away, and reinforcing ideas. And when you use it to reinforce ideas that simply aren't true, that are actually damaging, it's worse than any sermon. Mm-hmm. It's because you're not actually focusing on the words. It's not, I'm not going to go off on the subliminal messages and other stuff like that. It's just, it has a way of becoming memorable, and what you remember, all of those little ideas change the way your brain works, changes what you think. So
can I read you this one paragraph? This was from David Neese, and this was really powerful, effective on my life when I got saved. And this is actually the paragraph that led me to give my life to Christ. It says, "I finally found the reason for living. It's in giving every part of my heart to Him. In all that I do, every word that I say, I'll be giving my all just for Him. For Him, He is my reason to live." And hearing that at 18 with images of Christ on the cross and what He did for you, and I mean, it's powerful.
It's the same type of tools that any other cult uses. It's just that their religion is big enough that it doesn't normally get labeled as a cult.
Yeah.
Well, one of the interesting things about this coming out of some religious belief and this feeling of loss, the interesting thing is that when people contact us at the Atheist Experience to talk about losing their religion, I don't think we've gotten a single email from someone that said, "Oh, damn, I don't believe in God. I don't know what to do with myself anymore."
Yeah. At some point or another, it actually, well, maybe it's the people who have killed themselves that we don't hear from, and we hear from the people who actually feel liberated and get on. I'm going to go ahead and move on to other callers since we're short on time today, but thanks a lot for mentioning that.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Bye. We've got Russell in Fort Worth. Hello.
Hi, how are you today?
Good. How you doing,
How are
Russell?
you?
I'm doing pretty good. As I said, I'm a creationist and pretty much a fundamental Christian, and I can just debate a little bit if you wish me to.
Well,
you can do whatever you need to do.
what kind of creationist are you?
All right. I believe that, God put everything on the earth, and that is basically off of that. I mean, God put everything on the world, and what He said was that, He wanted animals, He wanted young herb, He wanted just everything, and He put them up on there. And, I just want a quick, intellectual chat on it.
Okay, so you're a young earth creationist?
Can you repeat that? Sorry.
How old do you believe the Earth is?
I would say probably about 200 million years. I agree upon that just because of, carbon dating.
Okay, well, you kind of went in the middle. I mean, the young Earth creation are 6 to 10,000 years, and the actual age of the Earth is about 4.5 billion years. So I'm guessing you're on the 4.5 billion year side of that.
Yeah, I'm more of it's kind of moderate. You see, I mean, I'm leaning one way.
Okay.
You picked something
So-
in the middle that neither supports the biblical theology nor the actual science. Have you got
Right, but
why?
What I've gotten out of this debate,
What-
what I've gotten through it was that I talked to my preacher in humanity, and what I'd like to talk more about is on the evolutional scale of it. Is that there's a bunch of lazy people and the poor people. I mean, hear me out on this. It's more of a survival of the fittest situation. And if the survival of the fittest was real, then niggers wouldn't exist, as they are lazy. Also, niggers.
Really?
Are we sure he wasn't from that group up in Amarillo?
Yeah. Why couldn't you just enjoy Boobquake Day?
Yeah.
What a moron. Anyway, it's the part that I didn't get was how you go for this middle area.
Yeah, that's
How old do you think the Earth is? 200 million years. Well, not only are you, demonstrating your ignorance with respect to science, but you demonstrated your ignorance with respect to the theology that you called into. And they demonstrated that in addition to being ignorant, you're a moronic bigot. So,
Yeah.
I mean, kudos. No idea exactly where he was from.
the trifecta. So.
Yeah. Claimed to be from Fort Worth, Texas. Who knows?
Yeah.
Anyway, we've got Nicholas in L.A.
Hi, what's up, you guys? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you're too up on California politics, but just a few states away, we're going to have a gubernatorial election and a statewide election come November.
Mm-hmm.
One of the initiatives for the voters that's going to be on the ballot is the Tax Cannabis 2010 initiative, which passes everyone over the age of 21 will be able to own, I think it's about an ounce of marijuana without a medical use or anything like that. It's just strictly for everyone over 21. And I was wondering if you guys thought that this is an issue atheists in general should take on, or if atheists getting involved would taint either issue.
I don't personally see it as an atheist issue.
Yeah, I don't see how it's an atheist issue. I do think that if atheists jumped on board, it may, potentially taint the issue. If atheist groups started coming out and saying, yeah, we want to legalize marijuana, because the first thing that's going to happen is say, well, this demonstrates what we always suspected. This issue has absolutely nothing to do with religion or atheism, and so they're just trying to, they're a bunch of hippie, drug-smoking, buffoon. On a personal level, I have no objection to legalization. I have no interest in it either way, but it's not an issue that's relevant to atheism or the ACA or this show or anything else.
One way that I think it could be seen that way is that for people who want it, or at least for some people who want it legalized, they consider it a fundamental citizen's right to put the things that they want to into their body. In a similar way, being an atheist and being not associated with any religion, as an American citizen, you decide the right to think the way that you want to think.
That makes it a civil liberties
Yeah.
issue, and that makes it a civil liberties issue, not an atheist issue.
Yeah.
No, but I think they're similar because I think the atheist issue is somewhat of a civil issue. Because you're saying,
well,
there are tons of there are tons of civil issues. There are tons of civil issues, but that doesn't mean that one is necessarily related to the other. What I'm saying is that this is not in any way an atheist issue, and the way you know is that atheism is a rejection of God claims, and that's it. There's nothing at all within, because there is no ism, there is no atheism. It's a response to to theism. So there's nothing that'll necessarily tell you what any particular atheist or atheist group actually believes. There could be 10 atheists in this room, and 3 could be in favor of legalization, 3 could be in favor of criminalization, and the other could be stoned out of their mind.
I'll agree with you that it doesn't necessarily have to do with one issue, has to do with the other. It just seems like people who would be for freedom of thought would be also for freedom of putting things into your body that...
Okay, but what does atheism have to do with freedom of thought? You're starting with a result and trying to tie results together. The result being atheism. Atheism, in my case at least, is a result of my skepticism and a certain set of values. And that makes these things consistent with one another, which is why I have no problem with legalization. But it doesn't make them dependent on each other. In the same way, in order for something to actually be an atheist issue, it has to be derived from it. And we've already agreed that's not the case. And that's why I'm saying it's not an atheist issue.
I guess that makes sense, but I guess I'll have to agree to disagree. But thanks for taking my call.
Okay.
Okay. You know,
It makes sense, but we'll agree to disagree.
we got an email from a guy that was basically connecting atheism to another issue that's not atheism. He was objecting to Kathleen Johnson's visit here when she was on the show, saying that somehow she was pro-militaristic and in favor of invading Iraq and bombing innocent civilians, and yeah, one of those.
Really?
Yeah, I responded to him appropriately.
What an odd thing to send to somebody
Yeah.
who is retired military and former military.
Yeah.
There is nothing, I mean,
Yeah.
it's not even the ACA has a particular position on military issues, even though we have
Yeah.
position statements. It's not, wow, we're back to something we've talked about 4 or 5 times before, which is you and I agree on this God issue, therefore you're likely to agree with me on this other issue. And the answer is no. I'm not, that doesn't make me more like, well, all right, it may make me more likely to, depending on how you derived that. But in much the same way that, well, we have disagreements, you know, with each other, even within our group. We have had it on the nonprofits. It's well known what we are not fans of, and I won't mention them because it'll bring in the email again. But if you know, I think it's because atheists are a minority in the population.
Yeah.
And so it is viewed often as this kind of fringe belief. And so these guys are likely to also believe these fringe things that I believe.
Yeah.
No, I'm an atheist because of a reliance on critical thinking, skepticism, and science. I am skeptical of any claim until it's actually been demonstrated by evidence. I am, from a social standpoint, my ideas on rights and stuff are derived from a set of principles that are consistent with my atheism, but not tied to it in any way. And the fact that you and I happen to agree that we don't believe there's a God doesn't mean we're going to agree on anything else. But we still get email.
Yes, but if you don't agree that my colloidal silver homeopathic preparation works for any and all diseases, then you're just not being a critical thinker.
There you go.
You're just like those theists you rail against. So, yep.
So we've got Casey in Richmond.
Hello?
How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you guys?
Good.
I was calling because recently...
Did they spell your name right?
Huh?
Is your name spelled right on the screen?
Oh, I don't know. I'm not watching the stream because it was
Wow.
lagging.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Who knows? I was calling because recently there have been some very, very large, probably between 8 and 10 foot white wooden crosses being put up on the sides of the roads. And I was talking to screeners and they asked if they're memorial crosses. And I explained that they're most certainly not. It's in the newspaper here that just some Christian group has decided that they are allowed to put these crosses up wherever they want to.
Are they on
They're
public?
really not.
Are they on public
Yeah.
property or private property?
On public property. It's like on the sides of the roads. I've talked to it's on the interstate. My boyfriend just reminded me of that. There's some that are in between like a Walmart and an Outback Steakhouse restaurant, and I actually asked if it was their property. It's nobody's property. It belongs to like the subdivision or whatever, but they're all over the place. I would say,
Well, if it
it's
belongs to
on
a
private
subdivision,
property,
then it's
fine,
private.
but-
Yeah, if it belongs to a subdivision, then it might be controlled by a homeowners association.
Mm-hmm.
And in that case, they're allowed to grant permission to put up things like this.
Yeah, what you're going to
Well,
want
in
to...
that case, it's kind of sketchy. But the ones that are on the highway and in the middle and the median and stuff, there's no way.
Yeah, if it's in the middle of the median, then that's not cool.
Yeah, I'd love to tell you to go take them down. However, that might also be illegal.
And dangerous.
Yeah.
What you need to do is actually look into what the laws are in your area. You can contact probably ACLU and other organizations.
Yeah, I was thinking about calling the ACLU about it.
Yeah, and see what you can do to find out. In some cases, they're within their rights, and in some cases, they are on questionable ground, so to speak. And
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's some of them that are up with complete permission to do it, but the ones that are on the interstate, I mean, I can't think of any way possible for that to be okay.
yeah.
And there was
Depending on what they
article
are.
in the local newspaper here about it that was talking about, my mom had told me about it, saying that the group had said that it was their right and there's no reason for them to be taking them down, and there was some atheists that were making a quote-unquote stink about it because they said they can't put them up.
It'd be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, they're not allowed to, as far as I know.
It'd be interesting to find out why they think it's their right, and whether or not they're right. Because if they're just making claims that it's their right to go around, if they're making a freedom of expression claim, then they're wrong.
Yeah, I think that was their argument, but they're wrong.
Yeah.
That's like you can't put anything up in the middle of the highway. You couldn't put up a turtle statue. You couldn't put anything up, let alone a cross.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's not much different than going around tagging crosses on bridge overpasses or something like that. And clearly you're not allowed to do that. So, yeah.
All right, well, I guess I'll contact the ACLU in some way, and maybe I'll send y'all an email and keep y'all updated on that.
That'd be great.
Yeah,
Thanks.
please do. Thanks.
All right, well, thank you for talking to me.
Sure.
Bye. As a reminder, there's no after-show dinner tonight or before-the-show dinner, although some people eat. I'll probably go eat afterwards, but we're not doing anything official at Threadgills. Next week, the show will be back at its normal time, beginning at 4:30 Central, which was 3 hours earlier than we started today, and it's Russell and Martin, I think, are on next week.
Yeah, I think so.
We got John in San Francisco.
Hi.
How are you?
Hi.
I'm doing good. I've been watching your show, and I'm a big fan. And I'm a theist, by the way.
Okay.
And I just want to know what makes atheism, the naturalism worldview, more rational than all other worldviews. I mean, what kind of arguments can you present that would defeat all other worldviews?
Atheism is not a worldview.
What is it then?
It's a response to a claim. The claim being that a God exists.
But don't they view the universe as non-contingent? They view the world as particular way. They view evolution, science, everything a particular way.
Nothing. There's no requirement for an atheist to believe any of those things.
Naturalism is a worldview.
Yes,
naturalism is.
Yeah.
But that's not the same thing as atheism.
Actually, you could argue that in some cases atheism is the result of naturalism, and in other cases it's not. For example, you've got Buddhists, are the example we use a lot. The non-theistic brand of Buddhists are atheists, and they have a worldview that's entirely not compatible with naturalism. So, are you just calling to ask why naturalism is
more rational than, say, monotheism or polytheism or pantheism?
Sure. The reason naturalism is more rational than any of the theisms is that they make an extra claim in addition to nature, and it's a violation of Occam's razor, the sharp end of Occam's razor.
What justification does atheism have that God does not exist?
Are you just like reading a list of questions you got from a website? Because
I'm just picking these up at the top of my head.
Okay. Atheism isn't the assertion that gods don't exist. Atheism.
My understanding, atheism, by definition, is non-belief in a God.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
Denial of a God.
Correct.
Not necessarily denial.
Well, I'll deny that the claims have been demonstrated.
Yeah.
Atheism is not the assertion that gods don't exist. It is the rejection of the claim that gods do exist as unsupported.
So
you're asking,
exist, right?
What's that?
God does not exist.
I do not believe that any gods exist.
Can I tell you that that's a positive claim to knowledge? And
No, it's not a positive
No.
claim to knowledge. I just said I do not believe that gods exist. In the same way that I say I do not believe that fairies exist. And I'm not required to demonstrate that they actually don't. The default position is that existence must be demonstrated. I am not asserting to no to any to an absolute certainty that no gods exist. If I had asserted that position, and I would have had this conversation gone a different way, that I actively believe there are no gods, but instead I'm saying I do not believe that gods exist. Please demonstrate that they do.
God exists is a positive claim to knowledge by theists, and they use different arguments to justify that.
Yeah.
And why does the atheist have the default when God does not exist is as much as a positive claim as God
Because
That's not what we said.
Because atheists aren't asserting God does not exist.
they're not asserting it's
No,
Okay.
You're,
If you don't believe somebody's guilty, are you asserting that they're innocent?
innocent of proven guilty, yes.
You're not asserting that they're innocent. If you're on a jury, you vote not guilty. You don't vote innocent. You vote not guilty. Atheism is not guilty. Anti-theism would be an assertion of innocence.
Wouldn't God exist and God not exist be a guilty or innocent verdict?
Yes.
And would we play an impartial juror in
No,
deciding?
no, you're confusing the actual state of affairs with respect with someone's actual belief about those affairs. In fact, either some God exists or no gods exist. Those are the only two possibilities. But what you believe about those is different. In actuality, either the defendant is guilty or the defendant is innocent. But that is not that is the state of God exists, God doesn't exist, the defendant is guilty, the defendant is innocent. But what you believe about those is different. And if until somebody demonstrates that the defendant is guilty, you are not justified in believing the defendant is guilty. You are in the position of rejecting this claim and voting not guilty, but that does not mean that you are convinced that the defendant is innocent. Likewise,
What if the evidence comes back that the defendant is guilty?
well, in that case, then
Where's-
you say that you're a theist, so what evidence do you have that your beliefs are correct?
I have the different arguments that presented by philosophers.
Those
The
are-
different-
those aren't evidence.
Those aren't
Arguments.
evidence. Those aren't evidence.
Can you define evidence?
It's
wow.
it's something that demonstrates that your claim is true. It's data. It's
But in any case, every one
Why
of those.
is it
Hey, hang on,
philosophical
John.
argument?
That's an
John,
argument.
John. Stop. There are arguments and evidence. Evidence supports arguments. Evidence becomes the premises of arguments that lead to conclusion. You're saying that you believe because of the classical philosophical arguments for the existence of God. None of those are logically valid and sound. Please present one that is.
The Kalam cosmological argument?
The Kalam cosmological argument.
Yes.
You think that it's valid and sound and sufficient to demonstrate the existence of a God?
I've went through every premise, and so far there has not been a defeater for each premise. I've been actually looking it up. On
No.
videos.
You don't look for necessarily, you don't have to have a defeater for each premise. You have to have a confirmer for each premise. The fact that somebody hasn't demonstrated a premise to be false, and by the way, with regard to Kalam, I don't necessarily buy that, but the fact that we have not demonstrated a premise to be false does not mean the premise is true. In the same way that the fact that we haven't demonstrated a defendant to be guilty doesn't mean that he's innocent.
How do you define truth? I define it as logical. Logic and truth are inseparable.
I don't think you know what either of those words mean.
yeah.
I'm pretty well
You do
aware
not.
of what those
You've
words
demonstrated.
mean.
You've
Truth and logic
demonstrated.
comes in hand.
John.
If something's illogical, then it's not true.
John!
logically.
You've demonstrated from the beginning of this that you don't know what atheism means. You don't know what the position asserts. You don't understand where the default position should be. You do not understand what a true dichotomy is, and you don't know how to validate a logical argument because you said you went through the premises and couldn't find anything that defeats them. That, in and of itself, is an argument from ignorance. It is a fallacy. What you do
Actually
is
not.
you have to you have to verify the premises, not claim that they're true because they haven't been disproven. That's an argument from ignorance. And if you don't understand that, you got no business making claims that you believe something based on these arguments.
what are the atheistic cosmological arguments? I mean,
Oh, you're a
No,
moron.
come on.
Atheism makes no claims about those. There are claims that are
Well, the
consistent.
universe had to come here somehow. I mean, you guys have make assumptions about how it came about, right?
No,
What
we
if
don't.
What if we have no explanation? Does that mean that the theistic explanation gains weight?
If you have no explanation, then I have no way of believing that atheism is the default position.
Really?
Yes, because
So you're willing to believe
it requires positive
no,
claims,
no,
knowledge.
No.
John, what you're doing there is making another argument from ignorance. You are saying if atheism does not contain within it an explanation for the universe, then I cannot assume that is the default position. When, first of all, atheism and the explanation for the universe have nothing to do with each other. Atheism is a response to theistic claims. Now, let's assume that we had no valid explanation for the origin of the universe. Then now we are in a position where we have no explanation. We are not in a position where theistic explanations suddenly become plausible for lack of something better. That's an argument from ignorance. You've made that same fallacy I don't know how many times in the last 5 minutes.
John.
Okay, can you tell me why atheism is the default position?
Well, I think we just went through that. Didn't we just spend?
Okay, I'll tell you I'll tell you why atheism is the default position, the rejection of theistic claims. What's the default position with respect to the existence of the Loch Ness Monster? Do you believe it until it's proven false, or do you disbelieve it until it's proven true?
I disbelieve it until proven true.
There you go. That's why atheism is the default position, because you disbelieve the claim that gods exist until those claims are proven true.
But atheism is a default position is also a positive claim.
No, it's
it
not.
isn't.
No, it's not, and you just justified it to yourself. You have a mental block that is preventing you from recognizing that you are making special pleading claims with respect to religion when you just admitted that the default position with regard to the existence of the Loch Ness Monster is to disbelieve until it has been confirmed. Atheism is no less sound as a default position than that one is. And the fact that you are making a special exception really blows everything else out of the water. Argument from ignorance, special pleading. Why do you make a special exception for theism?
How am I arguing from ignorance when you already have the default, when you're already claiming the default? That's more ignorant than me trying to play the impartial juror and trying to see which way the evidence weigh into either theism or atheism. But,
wait.
You already claimed something that has no justification.
Let me ask you something. Which of these two alternatives is the more honest answer to a question? Saying I don't know, or making something up?
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Which of these two is the more honest position to take? If someone asks you a question that you don't know the answer to, what's more honest? Saying I don't know, or making something up?
I don't know is more honest.
Thank you. Thank you. So,
I don't know is not a position.
It's an answer to a question if you don't know the answer.
Right, but it's not a position. Atheism is a position.
No. It is a response,
to
theistic claims. This is like the fourth time today.
Yeah.
Theism asserts that a God exists. That is a positive claim. Atheism is the rejection of that positive claim. It is not.
Rejection is a positive.
No, it isn't.
Not. You idiot. It is not. Just as your default position with regard to the Loch Ness Monster is not an assertion that there's no such thing. It's not. I'd highly recommend, go to the Atheist Community website, www.atheist-community.org. Look around for the flagship things. Click on the lecture series. When the lecture series page goes up, click on the link that goes to past speakers. Scroll down till you see my name and a lecture on belief. Click that thing. You can get the slides. You can go watch it on Google Video. It's all explained in Venn diagrams in clear detail that demonstrate the difference that allows us to determine a true dichotomy. And it will hopefully I mean, I don't know how else to explain it. We've done not guilty, innocent. We've done Loch Ness Monster exists versus it doesn't exist. And yet, every single time when you acknowledge that this is the case, when you turn around and get back to theism, you claim that it's not the case. You throw it out because you keep misunderstanding what atheism is. And that was the very first thing that we corrected, both of us, 2 different ways.
Yep.
It is the rejection of theistic claims as unsupported by evidence. That's it.
Okay, can I ask you why are you equating the Loch Ness Monster with God? Isn't that an equivocation?
Because neither one of them have been demonstrated to exist.
Can you demonstrate that God doesn't exist?
I don't have to.
Do I have to demonstrate that the Loch Ness Monster doesn't exist? Do I have to demonstrate that? Answer the question. Answer the question, John. Do you have to demonstrate that to be justified in not believing it?
Yes, I believe.
You have to. You're saying
by looking for evidence of this Loch Ness Monster, same thing as if we're looking for God. I mean,
Okay, so we looked for evidence of Loch Ness. We didn't find it.
Screw the evidence. John, I have a dead body in the trunk of my car right now. Do you believe me?
Until the evidence shows otherwise, then I will, yes.
You're an
idiot. You're an idiot.
You are an idiot.
You put yourself in the position where you have to accept every claim, every God claim that you cannot disprove. And that means that you're going to hold contradictory positions.
Yeah. Do you accept the God that the Muslims believe in?
I believe we believe in the same God, but they just interpret wrong.
Well, and on what basis do you reject their beliefs?
Because their belief is contradictory and
to what?
Muhammad is
to what?
a good prophet, I believe.
To what? I mean, what basis do you have to declare anything contradictory? You do know the Bible's contradictory, right?
At face value, yes, but you have to take other stuff into context.
Well,
and that.
By what reason do you disregard the Muslim claims about God and say that yours are correct?
I don't reject their claims because of...
Sure you do. Are you a Muslim? Are you a Muslim?
But because of theological contradictions.
John, are you a Muslim?
No, I'm not.
Then you're saying that they didn't get it right.
I'm saying that they're interpreting Revelation wrong.
Okay, I don't care what you're saying with regard to interpretation. You're saying they got it wrong, and we're asking by what justification do you make that claim? You've now made a positive claim that they got it wrong, and you reject it. But what's your justification that they got it wrong?
I'm going to have to research it more. I'm honest.
You know what? You know what, John? Maybe if you do the research before you come to an opinion, you'd be better off.
But I researched...
You're done. I researched. No, you didn't.
No.
I'll shut up now. You can have the next one.
Actually,
I beat up on John.
If John had actually done some research on Kalam, he probably would have run across John Loftus's book, and that would have probably been
and the entire episodes of this show that have been dedicated to it.
But he still wouldn't get it. I don't think John has.
Well, Patrick in Nacogdoches.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Jen will be taking your call as I recover from beating up on morons.
Oh, that's actually pretty cool because this was kind of directed at her anyway.
Okay.
Good for you.
Well, basically I want to talk about how it's okay to make religious threats, but not okay to make physical threats. And that sounds kind of strange, but I just wanted to give an example if that's okay.
Okay.
For example, in 4th grade, I was the school that I attended threw this huge fit whenever I told another girl that I wanted to push her down because I was so mad. And then a similar thing happened in high school, and they labeled both occasions as terroristic threats.
Okay.
On YouTube, I was having a debate with somebody, and he was a black Islamic fundamentalist. And I've never run into one of those before, but they're pretty scary, I guess, because he was talking about how he doesn't see why he can't just flail me right now because he will eventually be able to when the world ends and Allah lets him own me as his own slave. And in one particular response to me, he said he would rape my daughters and all these other like really, really like grisly things. And I tried to report it, and nothing was done. And I even went to the sheriff's office in Porter, where I used to live, and showed them, and they said there was nothing they could do about it because of some technicality. I can't remember.
Yeah.
And I'll actually email you the conversations because they're pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But I just...
Well, basically, yeah, the rule on making threats to people is that it has to be something credible. And so some anonymous or semi-anonymous YouTube user making some kind of threat of something that's going to occur in the afterlife, whatever is viewed as less credible than you standing there toe-to-toe with somebody telling them you're going to push them down. So that's it in a nutshell.
Right. It invokes the same emotions as if he had said it in a way that, like, he was going without religion, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It offended me just as much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just kind of something that's really hard to take in, and I get kind of upset when people can hide behind something like religion and say all these really petty things that are extremely offensive.
Well, the scary thing is that people hide behind their religion to do vile things every day. And they're not even just talking about it. They actually use religion as their authority to do horrible things to people. I mean, all those kids that were raped by Catholic priests, do you think that none of them were told that, that this was okay, that that Jesus approved, or even that, that they had to because it was a priest who was making the demand?
Right, and I'm just saying that I'm surprised that really nothing's being done about anything like that. And I don't know, I just see it as a failing of a really big system.
Well, and the rule is that unless this person takes some kind of tangible step toward carrying out a threat, then it's just free speech, and it can be offensive, but it's still just free speech.
Right.
The moment they make a move toward actually carrying out the threat, then you have a case, then you can go to the police and do whatever you need to do with that.
Right. It's just like he lived not that far away, and I don't know, I felt genuinely scared.
Yeah.
But there was, I don't know, I just felt like it was like an impending doom almost.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, that's really all I wanted to talk about, and I just want to get your opinion in particular, just because you probably faced a lot of bigotry. I don't want to assume or anything, but because of your lifestyle and everything, I just thought that you might have a little bit more to say about
it. Without knowing exactly what was said, I don't even know that'd be fair for me to comment, other than to say that, if you genuinely feel threatened, then you should, contact the authorities. And if you find that you're in a position where you're continually feeling threatened and nothing's happening, you might want to talk to somebody else to see maybe you're overreacting, maybe you're particularly sensitive to things. I'm not saying that's the case for you. I'm saying that in general for everybody. If you find that you're really getting upset over things that other people are kind of shrugging off as, that's not that bad, there may be other issues. But, we've had people call in. One guy called to get directions to the studio so he could come down here and, punch me in the face for Jesus or something. It's...
And I just don't have to deal with that. Like, I think that was actually the first time I've ever dealt with something like that. So it was like, wow, somebody can really say this, Like,
well, that's the thing.
And they can get away with it? I've never had experience with that.
That's the thing. Free speech means that you're going to run into a lot of things that you're not going to like. And,
Yeah, I mean...
I'm great with that, actually.
Yeah, we actually have pretty much everybody who's an open atheist out there in North America and possibly even the world over has gotten an email from a particularly egregious little troll that we won't even name here. And he makes all kinds of wild threats. And basically, we've learned to set email filters so we don't have to look at this stuff and hit the delete key. He's a miserable excuse for a human being. And, I'm content to let him wallow in his misery. And if his emails make him think he's, doing something important or whatever, that's fine. They sound scary, but, unless he actually does something about it, there's nothing any of us can do, as annoying as it is.
And Patrick, you can go ahead and send us that email, but since we're short on time, literally we've got like 8.5 minutes left.
Yeah, no, I'm watching the clock. I was wondering when you're going to go ahead and cut me off.
Yeah, I'm going to cut you off now because we got full lines, and I'm going to want to get to a couple others real quick. But thanks. Is it Sunil?
Yes.
How are you?
Excellent. I'll get straight to the point because I know you have little time.
Okay.
Love your show. Now, I'm going to represent my brother. I am an atheist. I love your show. I've read all the books you guys have read. I'm on your side on this. But I'm going to try to represent him. I could not get him to call tonight because he's busy doing some kind of work or something like that. But let me just try to make this quick. I've written this down so I can really not miss anything. My brother is not an atheist. His words are the following. I believe that nothing could exist without a creator. I believe that as Beethoven's Ninth Symphony was created by Beethoven, Beethoven cannot exist inside his own piece of music. Similarly, I believe Michelangelo could not exist inside one of his own sculptures, or Da Vinci in one of his paintings. Therefore, it seems reasonable to me that the entirety of the creation also has come about through the efforts of a creator. I believe there was a creator. I asked him to, can we just call him God to make it easy, that created the universe. Therefore, just as the sculptor does not reside in the statue and the painter does not reside in his painting, nor does the composer in his composition, therefore it follows that the creator of the universe also need not reside within the creation. That last part is because I asked him, the obvious, I said, why do you think everything is, able to be created except for your creator? And that was his answer is that just as Beethoven doesn't live inside Ode to Joy, the creator doesn't need to live inside his own painting, the painting being the universe.
All right, the first critical failure is this assumption that he begins with, that he doesn't believe that anything exists without being created. That makes the entire argument circular.
That's what I thought.
It's just a flat assertion. I don't believe that anything could possibly exist. It's the result of some really bad inductive reasoning. This exists, it was created, therefore everything was created. That's a fallacy. We already know it's a fallacy. If in fact nothing can exist without a creator, that is something that needs to actually be demonstrated and not assumed. This common argument of how can you have a painting without a painter? When we see the painting, we know that there must have been a creator. It speaks to us that that must be the case. Well, the reason we know there's a painter when we see a painting is because every single bit of evidence points to the fact that paintings do not occur naturally. It is not the complexity of the painting or the beauty of the painting that allows us to recognize that it was painted by a painter. It is the massive experience that we have with regard to people painting things and paintings not springing into existence or being able to reproduce and appear naturally. It is not complexity that we use. It is a contrast. We contrast nature, naturally occurring things, with things that are constructed. And there's no evidence for paintings occurring naturally. Yet, when it comes to people and elements, we have tons and tons of evidence that they occur naturally. And that is why it is irrational to assume that because a painting has a painter, therefore a human has a creator.
Yeah, I told him basically what you said. I mean, that's my thoughts the same. It's somehow... It's funny, he's so smart on so many other levels, but as I thought of him, I said, I respect you so much in so many ways on history, you know so many different things in politics, but on this, it shocks me. Maybe next week I could get him to call you, because I can only represent him so much.
Okay.
Okay,
We'll
that'd be
do that.
great.
That's right, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
We got Chris here in Austin. Chris?
Hello.
Oh, hey, yeah, I would like to know, how do you know God isn't real?
Well, have you demonstrated that he is?
Well, I mean, in Romans chapter 1, verse 20, it says,
Captain Kirk said, what does God need with a spaceship?
Yeah.
Quoting the Bible's not going to get you anywhere.
Human,
Quoting,
or an alien.
quoting the Bible's not
No,
going
he
to
was
get...
the creation. He wasn't the creator.
Quoting the Bible's not going to get you anywhere because you haven't demonstrated why anybody should consider the Bible to be true or authoritative. Why should I care what Romans says? It was written by probably Paul. What do I care what it says?
Why do you get so offended?
I'm not offended. I'm asking a
No.
question. See, because we had this conversation a little while ago where the guy assumed that atheism was this assertion that God doesn't exist, and then with a couple minutes left in the show, we get you calling in to say, how do you know God isn't real? When I've already explained that that's not what atheists are asserting. And then when I ask you, or when Jen asks you to clarify it, you go start quoting Bible verses as if that should carry any weight. I'm asking, why should that carry any weight? What difference does it make what the Bible says?
Because it's true.
How do you know?
How do you know?
Because I just do. It's by faith.
You just, okay.
Okay.
So
How do you know that? How do you know the Quran isn't? Is that just by faith too?
Because it's not based on a God. It's based on...
It's based on the same God you worship.
No, it's not.
Yes, it
Yes,
is.
it is.
No, it's not.
It absolutely
Yeah, it
is.
If
Have you
that
read-
were the case, then...
Do you not know the story of Isaac and Ishmael? You haven't read your Bible, have you? That's the problem.
Okay,
Go
but
go
what was
read
the
it,
story?
and
What's the
you'll
story?
free yourself. Go read it and
Yeah.
actually study, because those
But
the
then,
three.
But then, how do we all happen to be? We can't just come from nothing.
Who said we
Who
did?
said we did?
I came from my parents. I came from my parents. I'm
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
assuming
I'm
that
talking
you
about
probably
the
did.
Earth and the universe.
We know how the Earth formed. It's part of where we have a really good idea as a part of the accretion disk from when the sun was formed.
And how was the sun born?
The sun was formed by gravity acting on particles. You can go
Yeah,
you can
yeah,
go
but-
study all of
this
this in
Excuse me.
science
There
classrooms.
could have just been nothing at all. There
Could
didn't
it-
have there didn't have to be.
Could
a
there
sun.
get-
There didn't have to be an Earth. There didn't have to be a moon.
Correct.
There didn't have to be
Yeah,
stars.
you're right.
Correct.
You know, so that's just proving my point.
No, it's
No,
not
it isn't.
proving your point.
It's
Yes, it
proving your
is.
It's dim-
ignorance
yes,
of
thank you.
basic
I
science.
think y'all are ignorant because we didn't have.
Why?
to-
Because we
didn't
understand
have
the
to be
science
here.
and
We
you
didn't have
don't?
to be here at
You're-
all.
I agree with you. We didn't have to be here at all.
Yeah. All right then.
I agree. We didn't have to be here. Fortunately, the laws of the universe were such that physics prompted things to happen in such a way that we are the current state of life on this planet.
Yeah, but what's physics?
Wow.
I mean,
Physics?
There didn't even
Wow.
have to be physics.
Okay,
There didn't have to be any of that.
just Wikipedia. I
Yeah.
mean,
It's God.
pick up a dictionary. You know,
God,
study.
correct.
Oh, it's God.
Physics is
How do you
God.
know it's God?
Because there has to be a greater being than all of us to
Why?
create
Why?
something. So, because there just has to.
No,
That's not an answer. Because there just has to is not an answer.
We're
That is an argument from ignorance. It's really you're saying because
How
I
is it
can't think.
ignorant?
Because you're saying because I can't think of any
it's
better
the
answer.
truth.
You're saying because I
How do you
can't
know
think
it's
of any
true?
better
Well,
answer.
how do you know the physics is true?
Because it's demonstrable.
Yeah,
This is
it
going to
works.
drop. If I let go of it, I won't because I don't want to break it.
It's not even-
It's going to drop at 9.8 meters
not
per
even
second
100%
squared.
true.
Shut the hell up. We know physics is true because it is, because it's demonstrable, because it is investigatable by science, and because the results are consistent and it can be reproduced by anybody. And we know that there's a pretty good chance, though not absolutely, that we'll be back again next week. Thanks everybody for tuning into the short show. We'll be back at 4:30 next week. Bye-bye.
And Chris knows physics is true too. Because